Okay, the meeting is now live.
Excellent, thank you. So good morning, everybody. My name is Ben Attrell. I'm a legal advisor, a solicitor employed by the council. I'll be advising the subcommittee whilst it hears and determines the matter today. The first item on the agenda is to appoint a chair for the hearing. So can I please have a nomination, members?
I'm happy to do it, but as I've been chair for the last two nominal meetings, I'm happy if one of the others wishes to put themselves forward as well. But
I'm happy to nominate Councillor Ashmore.
As am I.
Perfect. Okay. So thank you very much. Councillor Ashmore then is elected as chair for today's hearing. And I'll hand over to you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Councillor Ashmore. Welcome to the first virtual licensing subcommittee meeting to be held by Portsmouth City Council. This meeting's being broadcast to enable the press and public to view the meeting. We're meeting virtually in response to the limitations placed on governance by the COVID-19 pandemic. And until recently, the law generally stated that all members had to be present in the room to make formal decisions at meetings. Although arguably that this did not apply to licensing committee hearings under the Licensing Act 2003. However, in any event, the law was amended in response to the COVID-19 emergency, and councils are now able to hold all public meetings virtually. For the purposes of the meeting, and having been advised by the City Solicitor, I can confirm that the hearing should be run pursuant to Section 78 of the Coronavirus Act 2020. Regulations made thereunder, and the Licensing Act 2003, Hearings Regulations 2005, which enable the authority to establish its own procedure. This is a new experience for most members, and we will all need to exercise patience and understanding while we get to grips with the new arrangements. Members are reminded to be available throughout the meeting and indicate if they need to leave the proceedings at any point. All three members must be present at all times to be quorate. If any part of the evidence is missed by any of the members due to connectivity or other issues, please raise the matter as soon as possible so it can be addressed. Our members, officers and participants are requested to keep their microphones on mute and must only turn these on when they're called to speak. This will limit the amount of background noise which could be very disruptive. So members of the committee who wish to speak should use the chat facility and simply write their name. Please don't use it for anything else except to raise a point of order. If there are technical difficulties, we'll endeavour to resolve those and where necessary have a brief adjournment, but the meeting can proceed when quorate. So I will now explain the running order for the meeting. Members will declare any interests. Licensing officer will then present the report. Members, the applicant, responsible authority, and members of the public who have made representations may ask questions in that order. The applicant will then present their case. Members, responsible authority, and the members of public who have made representations may then ask questions in that order. Next, the police, as the responsible authority making an objection to the application, will present their case. Members, the applicant, and the members of the public who have made representations may ask questions in that order. Members of the public will then present their cases in alphabetical order. Members will then ask any questions of the public, followed by the applicant, and then the police as responsible authority. And finally, everyone will have the opportunity to sum up their case, starting with members of the public, then the responsible authorities, and finally the applicants. Then the meeting will end. Members will then meet privately for their deliberations and to reach their decision. The written decision will then be circulated to all parties as soon as possible. So to reiterate, each party will have an opportunity to ask questions at the appropriate time and to make their own representation when asked to do so. So parties are reminded that representations are strictly limited to only those points already raised in your respective written representations. You are able to expand upon those points, but not add new ones. You can be reassured that members have read the papers before, and as a result, you're asked not to simply read your written representation. So I would now like to invite the members to introduce themselves. I'll read your names out in alphabetical order. Can you please reply by stating your name and saying present? And I'll pause for a few seconds between calling each member. So I call Councillor Ferret.
Councillor John Ferret, present.
Thank you. And Councillor Swan.
Councillor Benedict Swan, present.
Thank you. And can I now please ask the officers to confirm that they are present as follows? Ben Attrell, legal advisor.
Hello, sorry for the delay, just unmuting. Ben Attrell, yes, I'm present.
Thank you. And Lisa Gallagher, Local Democracy Officer.
Hello, Lisa Gallagher here, present.
Thank you. And Derek Stone, Principal Licensing Officer.
Yeah, good morning, Derek Stone, present.
Very good, thank you. And can I now ask the following if they are present? Mr. Ivan Lim.
Yes. Ivan Lim, present.
And Ms. Jeanette Warren.
Yes, Jeanette Warren, present.
And is it Ms. Tring, the General Manager?
Yes, Tring, present.
Thank you. Pete Rackham, Hampshire Constabulary.
PT Pete Rackham, representing the Chief Officer of Police, Hampshire Constabulary. I am present.
Thank you. And are the following members of the public who made a representation present? Mr. Nigel Powell.
Yes, I'm present.
Thank you. And Dr. Benjamin Sharp.
Yes, I'm present.
Thank you very much. Okay, that ends that bit there. So now it's declarations of interest. Do any members have any declarations they would like to make? I assume that means there's no declaration of interest, myself included. Councillor Ferret.
No, I have no declarations.
And Councillor
Sorry.
Swan.
No declarations for me.
Sorry, just the way I worded that was a bit confusing, sorry. It's new to me as well. Okay, so then we go to the agenda item number 3, considering the application for the variation of a premises licence for the Keppels Head Hotel at the Hard. So could I please ask Derek Stone, Principal Licensing Officer, to present his report, please? Thank you.
Yes, good morning, members. This hearing is in relation to an application to vary the existing premises licence for the Keppels Head Hotel, which was originally set for hearing on the 23rd of July and has been adjourned twice due to the restrictions in place as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. In light of the latest government guidelines with regard to licensed premises being allowed to reopen tomorrow, it is now appropriate that you sit and determine this application without further adjournments. Members, you have my report before you, so I will not go through that in detail. However, the position has changed slightly, with the applicant now withdrawing the extension to hours as applied for in the original application. The application is made by Holding the Keppels Head Limited and seeks to introduce a new bar in the basement area for private functions to operate at exactly the same times as the existing premises licence. The application, in addition, seeks the removal of several old conditions on the premises licence that are no longer applicable, and you have sight of the existing premises licence in your committee bundle. The applicant has detailed in the operating schedule the steps they intend to support and promote the licensing objectives. In addition, members, it may assist you to know that I have been advised by the applicant that the maximum capacity for the new basement bar will be 60 people. The applicant complied with the necessary provisions contained within Part 3 of the Licensing Act 2003 by way of public and press notification, and local ward councillors were also notified. Members, this hearing is necessary due to the local authority originally receiving 4 representations, one from the police following a failed test purchase at the premises and concerns regarding the sale of alcohol at the venue and the lack of controls that should have been in place at the venue around the control of alcohol, its sale and training. PC Rackham will give you more information shortly about this. There are 2 other representations from residents who are opposed to this variation, predominantly around noise concerns. The representation of Mr Greenberg has been withdrawn as he is now happy with the new proposed hours. You have all the representations before you at Appendix D, and as you know, Mr Powell and Mr Sharp have joined us for the meeting and will also address you shortly. Members, you are required to determine this application once you have heard from all parties, and I've listed in my report at paragraph 5 what you must have regard to, the first and foremost being the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives. In my report, members, I hope I've given you some helpful guidance, but I would like to draw your attention specifically to paragraphs 11.1 and 11.2, which deals with the review of premises licence as a key protection for the community where problems associated with the licensing objectives occur after the grant or variation of a premises licence, and how that licence can be reviewed should that be necessary. Members, I don't propose to say any more at this stage. I'm available throughout the meeting should you have any questions as the hearing unfolds, as is the applicant and his colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Members, do you have any questions for the licensing officer?
None from me.
No, none from me.
Okay, none from me either. Mr. Lim, do you have any questions for the licensing officer?
No, not from us either.
Okay, thank you. And PC Rackham, do you have any questions for the licensing officer?
Not from me, Councillor.
Mr. Powell, do you have any questions for the licensing officer?
Not from me, thank you.
Okay, and Dr. Sharp, do you have any questions for the licensing officer?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. So now we'll move on to the applicant's case. And so I call for Mr. Lim. Could you please present your case, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. The reason why we want to make this variation on the premises license because by adding the bar downstairs as a private function, we can minimize the noise in the hotel. And I would like to pass on to my colleague Jeanette to explain further.
Is it okay for me to speak on behalf of Mr. Lim?
Yeah, I'll allow that. That's okay, yeah.
Thank you. So the pre-existing licence that we already have for the building to cover the upstairs bar, which we use now for Nelson's Bar, we would like to shift previous events that we have held in there, which we presume would probably have been complaints that we've received before from noise, to downstairs. Since we have now, we can hold those functions there. We want to use the upstairs bar mainly for quiet purposes, book reading, and for guests of the hotel, as opposed to private functions and events with live music and, you know, what comes with a party, as in effect a wedding party, which we'd like to cater for in the hotel facility. Downstairs has been soundproofed, whereas upstairs hasn't. We have a list of the materials that we've used, and the aims that we have would be to only use it for a private function or event. Maximum capacity, as you said earlier, of 60 people. All staff will be fully trained. We will operate a Challenge 25 policy. We'd like to put in there that we already have working for us a CIA accredited doorman, which would be in attendance if any private events were to go ahead. Myself, who has now come on board I work for the Lims already at the Lady Hamilton, running an already established business with an accredited licence. We don't have problems there. It's just a few yards away from this building. We don't have noise complaints, and I don't think we've had, I mean, I've been there before under the existing, the previous owners. We didn't have problems there then either. We have a good rapport with the client base that we have, and I'd like to bring that over to here. We would like to say that when we do hold a party, we absolutely won't hold a private function or event, birthday party, etc., for any party that would be under the age of 25. So the person's birthday, we wouldn't be holding like an 18-year-old's birthday or a 21st party. We feel that that's responsible and would go in line with the Challenge 25 policy that we're going to put in place. We won't be operating as part your normal binge drinking deals, so no shots, no 2 for £5 Jaeger bombs and things. We want this to be a successful private event functionality that can be for just the purpose of weddings, charity events, things that can add to the local community, maybe. Lots of good, positive things, not in any respect a nightclub in effect that we do have just across the road at Gunwharf. We hope that this will have a positive effect for the local community, as a lot of our employees that are already on our payroll are from the local area. We will no longer, if we do get this variation in premises licence, use the Nelson's Bar, which is upstairs, that we're already using for live music or events. We will literally cease that. Downstairs will be where all private functions and events will be held. We have, I mean, I'm not sure, do you want the list of materials that we've used or for the soundproofing?
Don't think we need, because it's in the, you say it's in the report, isn't it? So
Okay.
and they're available anyway, aren't they? So
yeah,
it's fine.
I think we did agree amongst ourselves for the purpose of responsibility, in fact, that 2 AM was in fact a licence that was too late, and 11 PM we feel would be much more respectful with regards to any form of noise pollution to the local neighbourhood. And we're very happy that we can enforce responsible running of the bar if we gain the licence variation until 11 PM. I'm not sure if you want me to add, anything else to that? Fantastic. Yeah, and I think that is us done.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, members, do you have any questions for the applicant? Oh, I can see a hand up there from Ben there.
No, I was just scratching my chin.
Okay, so no questions from members then?
No, I don't have any questions, Dave.
No, fair enough. And Ben Attrell there, you're on mute, I think. Definitely on mute. Still on mute. Unless it's something wrong with my I can't hear you. Sorry, Ben.
Councillor Pete Rackham here. I can't hear Mr. Attrell either.
No. I don't really know how to proceed from there.
I'm just wondering, has that worked now?
Oh, there you are. Yep.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Go back to basic principles, turn it off and back on again. I'm sorry about that, Chair. I tried unmuting and it was first of all taking a long time to unmute, and then when it said it hadn't. All I was going to ask was, rather than just a list of all the materials, perhaps it might be useful just to briefly explain what actual steps you've taken to soundproof the new bar area.
So we use this material, the layout material.
So let me explain the step that we have taken to make sure the room is soundproof. First of all, we have took down the old ceiling, and the first material that we put in is the 100 mil rock wool acoustic insulation slab. We bought 36 packs of that and fill up the gaps between the wood frame on the ceiling. And then once that is done, we also install 27 plasterboard, which is 15 millimeter British sound block plasterboard. And then the final part will be the fire plasterboard that we have installed 28 plasterboard. They are the materials that we have installed to make sure the private function room are soundproof.
That's great. And this new room is below ground, is that correct?
Basement.
Yes, it's in the basement, yeah.
Okay. I've got no further questions, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I've got to go for the running order. I can see a hand up there, but I'll ask PC Rackham, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, Chair, if I may, I do have a few.
Okay.
Mr. Lim, in relation, obviously, I understand the application that's been made. With regard to your application, you made reference to a number of measures which you state would prevent the sale of alcohol to children and uphold the protection of children from harm licensing objective. Why did your application state that you had measures in place when the police attended, performed the test purchase, and there was a test purchase failure? There were clearly no measures in place. Can you explain that, please?
Yes. Can I pass it on to my colleague, to explain?
So those, you've got your measures that are in place. Those measures are actually not correctly in place and are now fully functioning and correctly in place. I can't actually answer why you didn't have those in place because I wasn't on board with the team at that time. I will, however, make reference to the fact that upon the failed test purchase, which obviously you're aware was the 16th of the 2nd, that was a fail. It was actually, not an excuse, but was a member of the Lim family that wasn't actually employed by the building, that was just trying to help out. There was a further, as you well know, past test purchase on the 7th of the 3rd, and now all of the training has been put in place and myself is on board. I've had a personal license since 2008 and I'm happy to help and support with the running and ensure that all of the licensing criteria is met for the bar downstairs.
Okay, thank you for that. So just to clarify, when the application was put in, the measures that you stated on the application that you stated were in place to promote the licensing objectives, they were not in place.
I can only presume that some were missing. I think the bar training book and the Challenge 25 policy training had not been met at that time, no.
Okay, thank you. So why was that?
The reason why those two booklets wasn't in place is partly is my fault because I was too busy dealing with getting the whole business up and running, and I apologize for that.
Okay, my second question is following the submission of the application, the police tried to engage with yourself by sending you an email, which councillors is within the evidential pack submitted by the police for your records. Why was there no contact to the police in relation to that email that was sent until such a time that the representations were submitted by ourselves?
I believe I have not received that email. If I have received the email, I would have responded by providing my contact details. because in the application that I've submitted to the licensing office, I did provide my contact details. So I'm not sure. When did you send out the email?
So the email that I sent which is a copy of which is within the councillor's information pack, is the same email that you submitted on the application.
I need to check my email, but I don't think I have received it.
Okay, then can you explain, if you did not receive that email, that you received emails following that in relation to the post-test purchase failure?
Yeah, that one we did receive. And I believe I have responded to that email.
But you didn't receive the first one?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so my next question is, what measures do you have in place now to prevent the sale of alcohol to children?
The measure that we have in place now is the training booklet that have records of all the staff being trained for sale of alcohol in Challenge 25. And also the booklet that we record any refusal. Yes, anyone that look under 25 and we ask for ID and they didn't have ID, then we will record it in this refusal booklet.
Okay, have you supplied the committee with what that training looks like at all?
No, because the training, when the actual training took place, we didn't record the training itself. It's only, we have, the way we record the training is the booklet that I got here, the name of the employee being trained. We take off the points that we have gone through with them, etc.
So is each individual, is that individual training, or have you, I'm trying to understand what that training looks like in my head. So is it that you go through certain points and then get them to sign, sort of following it, or is there an individual training package for each person?
We have individual training, and each staff will sign saying that they have this training.
Okay. And what does that training look like?
Here's an example of the training booklet, the points that we have covered. I hope you can see.
Okay, does that cover Challenge 25?
Can I just add that the Challenge 25 policy that was delivered to the staff that will be working in the nut bar is has been delivered partly by Mr. Lim and partly by myself, and also Mr. Lim has agreed. Some of them have already been booked onto a personal licence course, and we will also provide them with a copy of the Licensing Act and the licensing objectives. They were scheduling and going through all of this, and they've signed and acknowledged that they've received this training and these packages. I'd like to also add that we would like to schedule staff meetings every month so that we can refresh through with everyone and continue to make sure that they are up to date continuously with the regulations that are in place, as we strongly do not want a repeat of the failed test purchase that we had in the past.
Okay, thank you. I've got no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I did see a hand up earlier. Mr. Powell, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I understand from what the applicant was saying is that they're going to have a doorman. Where will that doorman be positioned? The other question I've got is, will there be street access to this bar?
Sorry, could you repeat that last bit?
Yes, will there be street access to the bar? So can people walk directly from the street?
Absolutely not. No street access to the bar, no. And the door staff, he already works for us. He is CIA accredited, and he will, for the beginning of the evening, be at the greeting point, which is down the stairs on the entrance to the building. And we do have CCTV in place as well that patrols the whole of the building, and he will function, you know, in and out of the crowd should any problems, which we hopefully don't have any problems arise. He'll be there to help us as and when required.
So will he be managing people that might overspill onto the street, which is something that is currently the case with the Lady Hamilton? Crowd of people gathered in the street, drinking, smoking, blocking the pavement. What management will you be putting in place to prevent that?
Okay, the Lady Hamilton has a separate licence. I'd just like to put that out there. We have an outside permit that allows drinking in the street. At the Keppel's Head, we don't, so we would completely discourage people outside drinking in the street. It's not part of our licence, and we don't intend to apply for it to be either.
And in the event that that happens, what happens then? Will the police be involved, or is that something you would be managing?
I mean, if it was violence and disorder, the responsibility of us as a licensee would absolutely be to involve the police, yes. Hopefully that doesn't have to happen. But for us to patrol outside drinking once our license is finished, those people go home or they go and get a taxi. As a licensed premises, we don't follow them on that basis, but we don't encourage. We have a courtyard that is a designated smoking area. We don't intend to use outside for the congregation of smoking and people to be out there drinking. That's absolutely not where we're heading with this.
I was unaware there was a courtyard within the curtilage. Whereabouts is that exactly?
We have a courtyard that's adjacent to the building.
Okay. No further questions at this point.
Okay, and I see a hand up there from Councillor Swan for a point of clarification. Is that?
Yes, thank you. I just wondered, could it be clarified? Does the licensing policy state that any staff that are engaged working behind the bar or similar must be suitably trained to understand the legal responsibilities regarding underage drinking?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Was that a yes there? Sorry.
Yeah, it is yes. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. And Dr. Sharp, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, sorry, could you just expand on where your smoking area for these potentially up to 60 people will be?
So we, at the Nelson's Bar, out the back of Nelson's Bar, we actually have an exit, like a courtyard to the building, which is a smoking, well, it's an outside space.
Fine, so that's just for the councillors to be aware, that's the outside courtyard that's under all 6 of the next door flats bedrooms. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. And you say it was one member of security staff for up to 60 persons?
We have one member who works for us at the moment. I mean, if we feel that it's required that we need more, we're happy to oblige.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we move on to the responsible authorities case. So, PC Rackham, can you present your case, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. As you've been made aware, this application refers to the variation for the Keppel's Head Hotel, in particular with regards to the nut bar. Obviously, as you've heard, the application was initially until 0200 hours. However, we understand, and what's been mentioned is that the applicant has since reduced this to 2300 hours. They're also going to limit the amount of people present to 60 people and then only attending private functions. As such, the portion of our representations which concern the impact around how the premises will affect the late night in the area on crime and disorder in relation to the prevention of crime and disorder licensing objective is now assuaged. However, that does leave the police with concerns around the ability of the premises to sell alcohol in a way which promotes the objectives set out in the Licensing Act, and also the ability of the premises to operate in a way which complies with the requirements of the Licensing Act 2003. You can see from the representations that we made that following the application, the police wrote to the applicant in order to discuss conditions which would support the premises in promoting all of the licensing objectives. Those conditions included those advised by the applicant that were already in place around CCTV and a Challenge 25 age verification policy. That process is quite normal when we receive applications. We like to understand the application. We want to seek to understand what the applicant wishes to achieve, and where possible ensure that the application can be put through without issues to allow businesses to succeed, so long as their operating schedule can ensure that they promote all four of the licensing objectives. It's really disappointing that no response was received from the applicant. They have said to you that they just didn't receive the email, but it seems very strange that they didn't receive one email, but they have received another, and our system certainly didn't state that the email was bounced or anything like that. And I think it should be noted by yourselves that the only time that the applicant has responded to issues has been when we've made representations, i.e. they've realised the severity of the issues at hand. Further to that, on the 16th of February, the police performed a juvenile test purchase operation at the premises. A 15-year-old test purchase operative was able to purchase alcohol at the premises, and no challenge for ID was made by the applicant. As we've raised in our representations, no training records were in place at all at the premises detailing age verification policies. No age verification policy itself was in place. No refusals logs were in place at the premises, and no age verification signage was in place. This is and was completely at odds with what the industry itself recognises as best practice and ordinary standards for operating, and also it is completely at odds with how the applicant stated the business was operated within their own application. The applicant have said they will check. They will do Challenge 25. They have said that they will be really hot on preventing the sale of alcohol to children, and they make repeated references to that within their application. That wasn't the case, and you've heard today from the applicant that that it wasn't the case, and the reason it wasn't the case was because, and I quote the words of Mr. Lim, he was too busy to be worrying about the sale of alcohol to children. He was more concerned about other matters of the business, and to us that seriously raises questions about his ability to operate a premises which promotes the licensing objectives. Following that sale of alcohol to a child at the premises, the police provided information to the applicant around measures they could implement to prevent the sale of alcohol. Again, that email is contained within the police representations. That is the email that I understand that Mr. Lim has received and has operated and has looked at. However, despite the concerns raised through that matter, and the severity of the incident, despite the fact that the police had been there and spoken directly to the person that sold the alcohol, who we understand is a family member of Mr. Lim, we didn't receive any formal response until such a time that we raised representations. Now, once we'd implemented representations, they have stated that they have improved measures and they have provided training to staff members. They stated that they provided, in order to do that, they provided an age verification policy document, which we provided them. So they have received that information, and they also provided a list of names of people stating that they'd received the training. However, it still stands that that training is still not individually documented, and that raises concerns from our end that still further down the line, we're 3 months down the line now, possibly 4 months down the line, there is still inadequate training at that premises to prevent the sale of alcohol to children. And my concern with the passing of the second test purchase is that that is more through luck than judgment and proper measures in place. The only thing that the applicant has provided and introduced into their training package is an age verification policy document, which you have to have by law anyway under the mandatory conditions set out under the Licensing Act, which apply to all licensed premises. They've not used any of the Challenge 25 signage that we can see, and they've not told us that that's what they've got in, that's what they have. They haven't got individual training documentation, which is what the police have provided them to individually train customers as a basic minimum standard requirement for their members of staff. So we're in a position at the moment where the applicant can say, yeah, I've trained my staff. However, when asked, what have you done? They have provided an A4 piece of paper with a list of brief columns. It doesn't go into the detail of what that training looks like. And as a result, our concerns around the promotion of the protection of children from harm licensing objective is still very much indeed the case. Now, we would like you to consider if indeed the application should be granted at all. You have seen evidence which indicates that the applicant has effectively stated in the application that he has measures in place to protect children from harm. However, the reality of that was that they had not had those measures in place, and we would go as far to say that that massively could mislead anyone that is dealing with that application. The fact that they didn't have those measures in place directly led to the sale of alcohol to a child, which is an offence, a relevant offence under the Licensing Act, and it was one which was wholly avoidable. And as a result of that, that has failed to promote the licensing objectives at the premises, and also cast doubt on the ability of the applicant to operate a safe premises compliant with the relevant legislation. Given that information, and given that what the Act says and the guidance available indicates, that should you believe that the application as it stands fails to promote one or more of the licensing objectives, the guidance and the Act say that you shouldn't grant it. However, we are minded that changes have been made to the application, and that the applicant had, following representations from the police, begun to put measures in place to improve matters. If you as the committee are satisfied with those measures, and you trust what the applicant is telling you post test purchase failure, and you're not minded to refuse the licence and instead to grant it, we would request that you impose conditions on that licence which enable the applicant to promote the licensing objectives and hold the applicant accountable to the relevant authorities moving forwards. And as such, we would request that in these circumstances, the imposition of the conditions outlined in our representations to you are put in place. That would effectively minimise the risk of the applicant failing to promote the licensing objectives in the future and enable us to hold them to account should they choose to failed to promote those licensing objectives. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Members, do you have any questions for PC Rackham?
None from me.
I don't see any. Okay, so Mr. Lim, for the applicants, do you have any questions for PC Rackham there on the back of that?
No. No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Powell, do you have any questions?
No further questions from me, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Sharp, do you have any questions for PC Rackham?
No, thank you.
Okay, I can see Mr. Attrell's hands raised, so I'll call you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's actually a question for the applicant, but it stems from what PC Rackham has raised at the conclusion of his representation about those conditions that the police have put forward. Can the applicant confirm, first of all, that they've seen and read those conditions, and whether or not they would have any objection to those conditions actually being attached to the licence if it were granted?
Conditions from PC Rackham that he wants to implement if the licence is granted. You haven't seen any conditions.
I haven't seen the condition, so.
Okay, Chair. In that case, I think it might well be worth us just turning to them in the pack.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find them now. Okay, so we're looking at the police representation starts at page 36, it appears. It's, and the proposed conditions commence from page 39. And the first is in relation to CCTV equipment. If the applicant is saying they haven't had a chance to read them, it probably would be best for me just to quickly read through them. So the first states that the CCTV system must be fully operational whilst the venue is open to the public. The recording equipment shall be stored and operated in a secure environment with limited access. The system shall be regularly maintained and serviced. The system clock should be checked regularly for accuracy, taking account of GMT and BST. Digital systems shall have sufficient storage capacity for 30 days, good quality pictures. The images produced will be date and time stamped. Access at all times. The premises is open for trade. A person shall be on the site that is able to work the CCTV system and provide a viewable digital copy of any footage to the police or officers of the licensing authority on request. CCTV shall cover the full licensable area, including the entrance to the premises. Can I just double check with the applicant you definitely haven't read or seen that particular condition or any of the following ones before I carry on reading them all out?
Sorry, yeah,
but
actually,
you don't need to read them out. I think.
Okay, I thought that might have been the case. So can you just confirm you have seen those, and you've obviously they're in part of the reports pack that everybody's had. Is there anything in any of that that's been proposed by the police that you have any objection to?
Absolutely not.
So what you're saying is that you'd be quite willing to effectively amend your application to include those conditions as part of your operating schedule.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair. That's quite helpful. That clarifies things, and I'm happy for you to move on.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me just get back to the running order. Okay. So now we're on to the part where the members of the public who have previously made a representation, I'll give the opportunity to present their case. Mr. Powell, if you'd like to present your case or add anything you have made in your representation, please do so.
Thank you. Yes, so in my original case, I just drew attention to the situation at the street level. Presently on the Hard, I mean, there are five bars, and we find ourselves in between the Lady Hamilton and the Keppel's Head. My concerns rotated around, as I mentioned already, overspill of people out onto the street. We're very busy thoroughfare, and on summer evenings there's quite a lot of activity and noise generated. I think there's sufficient noise and activity at street level. I don't think we need any more. And I'm still concerned, despite the representation by the applicant, that that this will increase the number of people standing around outside on the street, blocking the thoroughfare and our transit out the building, and we've also got a busy co-op immediately below us. So my concerns about noise, overspill out of the building, antisocial behaviour, and who's actually going to manage that. Like I say, I'm still concerned about it. I wanted to raise it on this call.
Okay, have you anything further to add, Mr. Powell?
No, nothing further from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so members, do you have any questions for Mr. Powell? No? Mr. Lim, applicants, do you have any questions?
We don't have a question as such, but just a little bit of reassurance, Mr. Powell, that we will actually put in place signs that encourage our customers to leave the premises as quietly and as promptly as possible when the function does finish. And we also hope to be in a position that functions that we aim to cater for predominantly will be weddings, wedding parties that in effect actually do end up staying with us. So leaving from the building, the majority of our functions we would like to hope will be occupied in rooms at the hotel, as opposed to we don't want to open this as a social bar where people do spill out onto the street to cause a nuisance to our neighbours.
Thank you for that. And PC Rackham, do you have any questions there?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so I move to Dr. Sharp. If you'd like to present your case or add to anything you've made in the representation, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think you can see from our representation already, my main concern, as with Mr. Powell, was the noise levels. Being a shift worker, working up at Alexandra Hospital, I do a lot of day shifts, night shifts. I know previously you mentioned that nothing new could be added to this. I don't know if this is valid, but it was actually the applicant that's mentioned this external courtyard area that I hadn't been made aware of before, which is now even more concerning to myself and from a personal level than the overflow into street level. You can see from yourselves looking at Google Maps, there's the only courtyard area is not suitable as a smoking shelter and sits just below my bedroom window, which obviously is again completely suboptimal for night shift working and for normal shifts. That was my only sort of addition and concern to the point.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, members, do you have any questions on the back of that? Okay, Mr. Lim, the applicant said, do you have any questions or points to raise on the back of that?
In refer to what Mr. Sharp just mentioned about the courtyard at the back, we have had a few functions before, and majority of the time that our customer haven't used that courtyard because it's only if we allow them to use the courtyard. So I want to give assurance to Mr. Sharp, if in the future, if we do get the grant for the variation. And where there's a function going on, we will take into consideration that whether using the courtyard as a smoking area is suitable or not. Yeah.
I guess then you then flip. So just to respond to that, I appreciate what you said. I know you've used it, and I know your guests have been using the fire escape just above the courtyard as a fresh air slot, which again, if you mention that point, I guess goes back to Mr. Powell's point about smoking being on the main street and the thoroughfare. In that case, I assume.
Yeah, it's talking to you.
Okay.
So I believe we have discussed it before that if the case is that smoking guests need to go outside onto the main street, then the issue would come into place where we do need to have that part of it managed. So therefore, door staff would need to increase and someone would need to monitor so that doesn't actually, in fact, cause too much of a disturbance or congregation outside onto public footpath.
Okay. Thank you. And I see a hand raised there from Mr. Powell. Is that?
Yes, thank you. I'm still really concerned about this because there doesn't seem to be an absolute clear policy in place. I'm not aware of a courtyard. I have seen people smoking on fire escapes at the rear of the building. If the designated area is not being used for smoking, people will overspill onto the street. Even though we're locked down at the moment, there are people sitting outside the hotel on the steps smoking. So if that's happening through the day, if this application is going to be granted, I really strongly request that some sort of process or escalation is included, because I'm not clear on, once these people are on the street, blocking the pavement. There's a bus stop immediately outside. There's stopping points for 3 buses that the bus station has put out here on a busy early afternoon or evening. That pathway is going to become packed, and I'm still not clear who is going to manage it. And in particular, at this difficult time when we're all supposed to be socially distancing, there are times of day during daytime hours where I have to walk in the road to stay away from people that are outside the building. So this isn't a minor point. This is a very real concern. I don't think it's been addressed.
Yeah. Can we make a point?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we make the point that we have, in fact, stressed a concern about the bus stop ourselves, and have already been in touch with the local authority to ask about the bus stop, if it can be moved or repositioned, which at this time they have disagreed to, because we actually feel that there is already a congregation on a small stretch of pavement out there that we do feel is already a problem, and we do agree with Mr. Powell there. We do have a shop next door, and I mean, I can see that he's saying this, us having people spinning out onto the pavement could cause more of an issue. Is there some sort of measure that we can work with towards making this more safe and accessible so that we ourselves can expand the business?
Okay.
I don't know if the councillors have seen the site in the front of the hotel, but I think regarding your bus stop application or suggestion of movement, that is a narrow footpath, as you've quite rightly said. But ultimately, we're talking about expansion of the business. When I bought this property 3.5, 4 years ago, I knew I was moving into next to 2 hotels. I didn't buy this property and the proviso that I was moving next to a hotel and a hotel/evening venue. And I don't think the footpath there is sort of fits with that. This potential expansion plan is from a personal point.
Okay, fair point. Anything more from the applicants there? The applicant side?
No.
Okay, and so I'll go to PC Rackham. Do you have any questions related to the points that have been raised so far?
I do not, Chair.
Okay. Right, so we've now reached the end of the meeting then, and each person will have the opportunity to sum up before we adjourn to the decision meeting, the private decision meeting there. So if I just ask Mr. Powers, is there anything you would like to add?
Nothing further to add. Thank you very much.
Okay. And Dr. Sharp, is there anything more you'd like to add?
Nothing further from me. Thank you for your time.
Okay. PC Rackham, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Stone, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm happy, thank you.
And Mr. Lim and the applicants there, is there anything you'd like to add?
Could I just quickly add that the reason for the purpose for the variation in the license is to take away the noise pollution by putting it somewhere that is soundproofed. The bar that we have upstairs is already granted a license and in operation, and obviously in there at the moment is no sort of soundproofing. So we are trying to work in effect with our neighbours to put our business in a place that is more suited to stopping the noise pollution to them.
Thank you. And you've given us the stuff about the soundproofing, haven't you? It's all in there. Okay. Oh, and I see a hand up there for Mr. Attrell.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, excellent. Yes, I think one of the points I was going to raise has actually been addressed by the applicant. I was just simply going to ask whether existing functions as they had currently been undertaken were envisaged to be moved, and I think that's been explained. The other question was directed at the police. I understand that the primary concern now is about training, and in particular in relation to underage sales and the like. I note that the condition that's been proposed by the police requires detailed training to be in place. But I wonder, would you be happier to see some amendment of that condition to also require any proposed training to be put to yourselves for approval before it's actually implemented and before alcohol sales can take place, so that you can actually be satisfied that the detail of the training is as you would want it?
And that's to PC Rackham, yeah?
PC Rackham, yes,
Yep.
please.
Sorry, yes, that would be agreeable. One point I'd like to raise on that is obviously, should the committee decide to impose that as a condition as part of their decision-making process, it may also be worth liaising with Trading Standards. I know they haven't made representations. However, moving forward, if that's a decision the committee take, Trading Standards are I think the area lead for training matters.
I don't see any issue with that. Certainly, as it relates to underage sales, that is something that would fall within their remit. So for any training to specifically be approved by the police and trading standards before it's implemented and before alcohol sales can commence in the new bar, is that something the applicant has any particular concern with?
No, I mean, for us, the overall goal is to work alongside the police and Trading Standards and the local authority, if need be, to make sure that we do meet all of the licensing objectives that we have.
And to be clear, what this doesn't do, this doesn't put any responsibility on the police or trading standards to produce or prepare training for you. It merely means that whatever you intend to put in place, you need to have approved by them beforehand. It does not mean that then there's some sort of batting backwards and forwards with them tweaking or proposing or having any responsibility with regards to preparing your documentation.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah. Okay. That's all from me, Chair. If you want to carry on and double check if any other party has anything else they want to add. I think you still need to hear from the applicant, do you? I can't recall.
Sorry, I think it looks like Councillor Ashman may have just dropped out. Just waiting to see if he's going to come back in.
Okay, I think yes, we do obviously need to wait for him to rejoin, hopefully.
Here we go. I think it looks like he's. Yep.
Yep. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. It kind of just booted me off.
That's fine. That's fine. These things happen. Can you just confirm whereabouts we were when?
I got to the point where you were speaking to PC Rackham about whether it be happy to have the extra bits in there. That's where I got up to.
Okay, that's perfect. So there's not that much that's been lost. So effectively, the police have agreed that that's something that they would be happy to see. They suggested that trading standards also be included in any condition. I then put it to the applicant. They have confirmed that they likewise would have no objection to that. I also then expressly made it clear that what this doesn't do is wouldn't do is put any responsibility on the responsible authorities to actually draft or be involved in the process of creating policy documents. It would merely be an approval before alcohol sales could commence at the property. So I forget where we were in terms of the actual process. The parties were summing up. I can't recall what the applicants had summed up.
I think we was on the applicant's bit, weren't we? I think everyone else.
I may have jumped in just before. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might have jumped in just before. Just to say, yeah. So is there anything the applicants would like to add? I think we did get to that point, but I'll just make sure that everyone's having their fair say at the summing up bit.
I think as we've had some further discussion, it's probably best just to check with every party that everybody's happy for you to go off and make your deliberations, and there's nothing else that anybody else wants to say at this stage.
Yeah, is that right? Does everybody feel they've had their say?
That's right.
Yeah, we're okay.
Okay. Well, in that case, that concludes the formal part of the meeting there. So members of the committee, along with the legal advisor, will now meet for deliberations to make the decision on this. The decision will be sent in writing to all parties today, if at all possible, but it will be as soon as possible.
Yes. Can I just check we've got email addresses for all the parties? They've been provided, Lisa, for us to email the decision round?
Yes, I believe. Derek.
Ben, I can come in on that. Yes, I've been corresponding with everybody through email. So as soon as the decision is passed to me, I will prepare the notices of decisions and do it by email.
And just for clarification of the process, the licensing officer will have no involvement with the decision-making process whatsoever. It simply will be the members that make the decision. I will be providing legal advice and Lisa democratic support, and we aim to get the decision emailed to all the parties today, if at all possible.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Peter, I think that's we can end the live stream now. Thank you, and thank you very much, everyone, for your time today.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
I'll just go do so now. Thank you.
Okay. Right. See you in the live stream. Thank you.
Thank you.